Body Language Secrets: How to Understand People Instantly. Introduction. Human communication is a rich, multi-layered experience. We often think that communication happens mainly through spoken language, words, sentences, and conversations. But the truth is far more surprising. Most of our real communication happens without words. Our faces, hands, posture, and even the way we breathe send information to others. These signals are constant, automatic, and usually unconscious. They reveal emotions, intentions, attitudes, and sometimes even truths that a person tries to hide. This silent language is called body language, and learning to understand it can transform your life. From the moment we wake up in the morning to the moment we close our eyes at night, we send and receive a continuous flow of nonverbal messages. A person may tell you they are fine, but their stiff shoulders or lowered eyes may say something completely different. Someone may say, "I agree," but the tension in their jaw may reveal doubt. Another person may smile politely while their feet point toward the exit, showing a desire to leave the conversation. These small signs are everywhere around us, but many people never learn to notice them. As a result, they miss valuable information and misunderstand others without realizing it. This book aims to change that. Body language is not a mysterious gift or an ability that only psychologists possess. It is a learnable skill, a practical tool that anyone can develop with awareness, patience, and practice. When you understand body language, you gain the ability to interpret human behavior more accurately, navigate social situations with confidence, and connect with others on a deeper level. You begin to read people instantly, not because you are judging them, but because you are paying attention to the signals that have been there all along. Why body language matters. Imagine being able to sense when someone is nervous without them saying a word. Imagine being able to tell when someone is excited, bored, lying, comfortable, or trying to impress you. Think about how helpful it would be in your daily life, at work, in friendships, in family discussions, or even in quick interactions with strangers. Body language allows you to understand emotions that people may not express verbally. Notice if someone feels confident or insecure. Recognize interest, attraction, or disinterest. Detect tension, discomfort, or dishonesty. Improve your own communication by adjusting your posture and expressions. Build stronger and more trusting relationships. Understanding body language is not about spying on people or manipulating them. Instead, it is about listening more carefully, not with your ears, but with your eyes and your intuition. When you learn how to interpret the body's silent signals, you gain a powerful advantage in communication. You become more empathetic, more aware, and more capable of responding in thoughtful and effective ways. The silent messages we all send. Most people believe they control their expressions and behavior, but the truth is that the body often reveals what the mind tries to hide. Humans evolved long before spoken language existed, so the body developed its own system of signs to express emotions and survival instincts. These signals continue to operate today, even though we live in a world of complex speech and technology. For example, when someone feels nervous, their hands may shake slightly. When someone feels confident, their chest naturally expands. When someone feels defensive, they may cross their arms or legs. When someone is interested in you, their pupils may dilate and their posture may lean forward. When someone is lying, their behavior may become inconsistent or overly controlled. These reactions are not always intentional. In fact, the more a person tries to hide their feelings, the more obvious their body language can become. The body cannot lie as easily as the tongue can. This book will help you learn how to observe these signs with clarity. It will teach you to see the patterns behind human movements, notice the small details that have meaning, and understand body language within context so you avoid misinterpretation. Seeing the world differently. Once you begin noticing body language, your experience of communication changes dramatically. Everyday interactions suddenly contain more information. You begin to understand why some conversations feel difficult or why a person reacts in an unexpected way. You start realizing that silence is rarely empty. It is full of signals that are just as meaningful as words. You may begin to see that the person who laughs loudly may actually feel insecure, trying to gain approval through exaggerated expressions. You may discover that the quiet person in the room is not shy, but simply thoughtful and observant. You might notice that someone's repeated avoidance of eye contact is not disrespect, but discomfort or anxiety. These insights allow you to respond with kindness, patience, or strength, whichever the situation requires. Watching body language also changes how you see yourself. You become aware of how your own gestures influence the way people perceive you. A small change in posture can make you appear more confident. A relaxed expression can make you seem approachable. Understanding your own body language helps you communicate your intentions more accurately, reducing misunderstandings and increasing trust. Not a superpower, a skill anyone can learn. Many people believe that reading body language requires special talent, but this is not true. Children naturally read body language from a young age. They can sense if their parents are angry or stressed even before a word is spoken. Over time, adults lose some of this natural sensitivity because they begin to rely more on spoken language. However, the ability can be easily regained. By practicing simple techniques, observing posture, studying facial expressions, paying attention to tone of voice, and understanding context, you can improve your ability to read people dramatically. This book will guide you through this process. You will learn to watch the whole body instead of focusing on one detail, identify universal facial expressions, understand how culture affects body language, notice signs of confidence, fear, happiness, or dishonesty, recognize emotional leaks that people cannot control, and apply body language interpretation in real-life situations. Every chapter is designed to be practical and easy to understand. The goal is not to overwhelm you with scientific terminology, but to give you useful tools that you can apply immediately. Avoiding common misinterpretations. Learning body language is powerful, but it must be done responsibly. It is important to remember that no single gesture tells the whole story. For example, crossing arms does not always mean someone is defensive, it can simply mean they are cold or comfortable. A lack of eye contact does not always indicate dishonesty. Some cultures, personalities, and situations encourage minimal eye contact. This is why context is essential. Body language must always be understood as a combination of signals, not as isolated gestures. Throughout this book, you will learn how to avoid common errors and analyze behavior in a balanced, intelligent way. Why this book is different. Many books on body language focus only on lists of gestures and their possible meanings. While this can be useful, it often leads to oversimplified interpretations. This book takes a deeper, more human approach. It teaches you to think like an observer, someone who watches patterns rather than single movements. It also emphasizes empathy. The goal is not to judge people or label them, but to understand them. When you read body language with compassion, you become a better communicator, a better friend, and a better version of yourself. A journey into human behavior. The pages ahead will take you on a journey into the psychology of expression. You will learn how emotions appear on the face, how gestures reveal personality traits, how posture communicates confidence, and how micro-movements can show hidden feelings. You will explore real-life examples, practical exercises, and powerful insights that help you see the world with sharper vision. By the end of this book, you will be able to walk into any room and instantly sense the emotional atmosphere. You will understand people more easily, respond more effectively, and communicate with greater clarity. Most importantly, you will feel more connected to the people around you because you will finally understand the language that everyone speaks but few truly hear. This is the language of the body, and now it is time to learn its secrets. Chapter 1: The Psychology Behind Human Signals. Human beings are far more expressive than they realize. Long before we learned to speak, long before words existed, the human body carried the responsibility of communicating needs, fears, intentions, and emotions. Every gesture, every facial movement, every shift in posture is connected to psychological processes deep within the brain, processes that have been shaped by millions of years of evolution. To understand body language clearly, we must first understand the psychology behind it, why the body reacts the way it does, how emotions influence movement, and why so much of human behavior is unconscious. Most people believe they control their expressions, but the truth is that the body often speaks before the mind even forms a sentence. This chapter explores the hidden mechanisms that create the signals we see every day, the internal forces that shape our behavior, and the invisible psychological system that drives the language of the body. At the core of body language lies the simple fact that human beings are emotional creatures. Even the most logical, calm, or disciplined person experiences constant emotional activity beneath the surface. The brain is always evaluating the environment, making judgments, and preparing the body to respond. These internal evaluations happen so quickly, but they bypass conscious thought. When someone feels threatened, the body tightens. When someone feels relaxed, the muscles loosen. When someone is excited, the eyes widen and the breathing changes. The body reacts immediately, instinctively, without waiting for reason or language to catch up. This is why body language often reveals the truth, even when words attempt to hide it. The mind can lie, but the body struggles to do so because it follows emotional impulses that operate beneath awareness. To understand this, we must look at the structure of the human brain. The brain has several regions, but for the purpose of body language, three areas are especially important: the limbic system, the amygdala, and the prefrontal cortex. The limbic system is the emotional center of the brain, responsible for generating feelings and detecting meaning in the environment. The amygdala is the alarm system, constantly scanning for danger or emotional significance. It reacts instantly, triggering fear, excitement, anger, or caution before we even realize what is happening. The prefrontal cortex, the rational part of the brain, controls logic, planning, and conscious decision-making. But it is slower. It analyzes after the amygdala reacts. This is why someone may feel nervous before they understand why. The emotional brain acts first. The logical brain explains later. This order, emotion before logic, is the key to understanding body language. When the amygdala detects something significant, it immediately sends signals to the body. Muscles tense or relax, the heart rate changes, the eyes adjust, and the posture shifts. These reactions happen within fractions of a second, far too quickly for conscious control. For example, if someone suddenly becomes afraid, their eyes widen to take in more visual information, their shoulders rise to protect the neck, and their body prepares to move away. If someone feels confident, their posture becomes open, their chest expands, and their movements become more fluid. These responses are rooted in survival. They are ancient behaviors that helped early humans stay alive. Even today, although we live in modern environments, these instinctive reactions still shape our body language. The psychology of body language also involves the concept of emotional leakage. Emotional leakage refers to the small, often subtle signs that escape even when a person tries to hide their true feelings. A person may say they are fine, but their micro-expressions, tiny facial movements lasting less than a second, may reveal sadness or frustration. Someone may claim they are confident, but their hands may fidget or their feet may point toward the exit, showing discomfort. People often attempt to control their larger gestures, especially when speaking, but they rarely control the brief flashes of emotion that appear on their faces or in their posture. These leaks happen because the emotional brain reacts faster than the cognitive brain can manage. It's like trying to stop water from escaping through small cracks in a container. No matter how hard a person tries to contain their emotions, small traces will still emerge. Another important psychological principle behind body language is the idea of cognitive load, the amount of mental effort a person is using at any given moment. When someone is relaxed and comfortable, they have plenty of mental space available, so their movements appear smooth and natural. But when someone is stressed, lying, anxious, or overwhelmed, their brain works harder. This increased mental effort often shows up in the body. Movements become stiff, speech becomes slower or faster, posture becomes tense, and the eyes may avoid direct contact. A person who is trying to appear calm may overcompensate, sitting too still or forcing a smile. These behaviors are not intentional, they are side effects of the brain working under pressure. When the mind is busy, the body reveals the strain. One of the most fascinating aspects of human psychology is that the body responds not only to external events, but also to internal thoughts. For example, merely imagining a stressful situation can trigger real physical reactions, a racing heart, tense muscles, or shallow breathing. This means body language is not only a reflection of what is happening outside, but also what is happening inside the mind. A person who worries often may develop a habitual posture of tension even when nothing stressful is happening. Someone who frequently feels insecure may unconsciously make themselves physically smaller, crossing arms or hunching shoulders. Conversely, someone who feels proud or happy may naturally adopt open and expansive movements. The body becomes a mirror of the internal world, reflecting moods, habits, and personality traits. Cultural and social influences also shape body language, but psychological foundations remain universal. People from all cultures smile when they are genuinely happy, frown when they are sad, and widen their eyes in surprise. These expressions are biologically programmed and appear even in people who were born blind and have never seen another person make these expressions. This universality shows that emotional expressions are not learned but innate. However, culture influences how often people display emotions, how comfortable they feel with eye contact, and what gestures are considered polite or rude. The psychological mechanisms remain the same, but the social rules vary, which is why understanding context is essential when reading body language. Another foundational psychological principle is projection, the tendency of people to interpret others' behavior based on their own emotional state. If someone feels suspicious, they may assume others are hiding something. If someone feels confident, they may interpret neutral body language as positive. This bias affects how we read others, often without realizing it. To understand body language accurately, one must first recognize their own emotional filter. When you become aware of your internal state, you become a more objective observer, able to separate your emotions from the signals you observe in others. Human beings also have a powerful psychological need for social connection. From infancy to adulthood, we seek acceptance, safety, and belonging. This need influences body language deeply. For example, when people feel accepted, their movements become open and relaxed. When they feel judged or excluded, they may turn inward, crossing arms, lowering their head, or avoiding eye contact. These reactions are not weaknesses, they are natural responses to social pressure. Understanding this helps you recognize when someone needs reassurance, patience, or space. Body language becomes a map of human needs, sometimes hidden, sometimes visible, always meaningful. The psychology behind body language also includes the concept of synchrony, the natural tendency of people to mirror each other's movements when they feel connected or comfortable. When two people get along well, their breathing rhythms match, their gestures reflect each other, and their posture becomes similar. This mirroring happens unconsciously and is a sign of trust and harmony. On the other hand, when people feel uncomfortable or defensive, their movements may clash or move out of sync. By observing synchrony, you can understand the emotional temperature of an interaction without hearing a single word. Fear and stress play a major role in shaping body language. When the brain detects a threat, whether physical or emotional, it triggers the fight, flight, or freeze response. This ancient survival mechanism prepares the body to defend itself, escape, or become still and unnoticed. Even though modern threats are often psychological rather than physical, such as fear of embarrassment or rejection, the body still reacts the same way. Shoulders rise, breathing becomes shallow, eyes scan the environment, and movements become guarded. Recognizing these signs helps you understand when someone is experiencing internal stress, even if they claim to be fine. Confidence and power also have psychological signatures. A person who feels powerful takes up more space, stands upright, and moves with ease. Their gestures are controlled but fluid, and their eye contact is steady. These body language signals are rooted in the brain's reward system. When someone feels confident, their brain releases chemicals like dopamine and serotonin, which reduce physical tension and encourage expansive posture. Interestingly, this works in reverse as well. Changing one's posture to appear confident can actually increase feelings of confidence. This mind-body connection shows that body language is not only a reflection of psychology, but also a tool that can influence it. Finally, the psychology behind body language reveals a profound truth. The body never stops communicating. Even in stillness, the body sends signals. Even in silence, the face reveals emotions. Even when someone tries to hide their feelings, the body leaks information through micromovements. Understanding this silent communication requires patience, awareness, and empathy. It requires seeing people not as subjects to analyze, but as humans carrying emotions, histories, and inner struggles. This chapter serves as the foundation for everything that follows. By understanding the psychological forces behind body language, the emotional brain, instinctive reactions, cognitive load, cultural influences, projection, fear, confidence, and social connection, you gain the ability to read people with greater accuracy and compassion. In the next chapters, we will explore how these psychological principles appear in everyday life, in the face, the posture, the hands, the voice, and the countless nonverbal signals that shape human interaction. Before we learn what to observe, it is essential to understand why the body behaves the way it does. With this knowledge, you are ready to begin seeing people more clearly than ever before. Chapter 2: The Silent Power of First Impressions. First impressions are among the most powerful forces in human interaction, shaping the way we perceive others long before a single word is spoken. Within seconds of meeting someone, our brain forms a judgment, a rapid, instinctive evaluation of their character, intentions, confidence, and emotional state. This judgment is not based on logic or careful thought. It emerges from a silent flood of nonverbal signals that the body sends automatically. From posture to facial expression, from the movement of the eyes to the way a person holds their hands, these signals combine to create an immediate psychological impression that can be difficult to change later. Understanding the silent power of first impressions is essential for anyone who wants to read people accurately, because this early moment often reveals truths that words will not. In this chapter, we explore how the brain forms impressions so quickly, why the body influences these judgments so strongly, and how we can use this knowledge to understand others with greater depth and clarity. The science behind first impressions begins with the brain's need for survival. Throughout human history, our ancestors depended on the ability to make quick evaluations. Who is friendly? Who is dangerous? Who is trustworthy? These judgments needed to be made within seconds to ensure safety. Even today, although we rarely face physical threats, the brain still uses these ancient mechanisms to make sense of new people. When we see someone for the first time, the amygdala, the same emotional alarm system discussed in the previous chapter, rapidly scans their body language for signs of threat or comfort. A smile, open posture, and relaxed movements signal safety. Tension, avoidance, or rigid gestures signal caution. We may not be aware of this process, but our feelings, liking someone instantly or feeling uneasy without knowing why, often come from this quick nonverbal evaluation. Body language plays a central role in shaping these early judgments because it is perceived as more honest than words. Even if someone speaks politely during a first meeting, their body may reveal nervousness, confidence, insecurity, arrogance, or warmth. Humans have evolved to trust what they see more than what they hear. The brain gives priority to observable behavior because it is harder to fake. A person can choose their words carefully, but they cannot easily control the small details of their posture, breathing, or facial muscle tension. These nonverbal cues act like a window into the emotional state of the individual, providing clues about their sincerity, confidence, and intentions before they even open their mouth. One of the strongest components of first impressions is posture, the way a person positions their body when entering a room or meeting someone. Posture reflects internal emotional states with remarkable clarity. Someone standing upright with open shoulders, relaxed arms, and balanced weight often appears confident and approachable. Their body signals comfort within themselves and the environment. On the other hand, someone entering with hunched shoulders, crossed arms, or a downward gaze may appear insecure, guarded, or uncomfortable. Their posture communicates a desire to protect themselves or avoid attention. These reactions occur automatically, driven by the limbic system in response to emotional states, and most people are not even aware that their posture communicates their moods so clearly. Facial expressions also contribute enormously to first impressions. The face is the most expressive part of the body, capable of subtle micro-movements that reveal joy, sadness, irritation, fear, or curiosity. When meeting someone for the first time, the face typically displays a mixture of reactions in milliseconds: a quick raising of the eyebrows showing acknowledgement, a small smile indicating politeness or openness, or a slight tightening around the eyes signaling stress. These micro-expressions are unconscious and universal. They give the observer immediate information about how the person feels in the moment. Even a forced smile reveals tension if the eyes do not participate. Because the brain is highly sensitive to facial cues, even the smallest expressions can create lasting impressions within seconds. Another powerful factor in first impressions is eye contact. As one of the primary tools of social connection, eye contact shows interest, confidence, honesty, and engagement. When someone maintains natural, comfortable eye contact, they appear trustworthy and present. However, too much eye contact may seem aggressive or intrusive, while too little may suggest fear, avoidance, or discomfort. The psychology behind eye contact is deeply rooted in human evolution. The eyes are considered the gateway to emotion, revealing intentions long before words appear. Even in silence, eye contact forms a powerful emotional bridge or barrier between two people. The amount, timing, and quality of eye contact all contribute to the impression we form instantly. Movement and gestures also shape first impressions. The way someone walks toward you, the way they sit down, and the pace of their movements all hint at their personality and emotional state. A person who moves with controlled, smooth movements may appear calm and self-assured. A person who moves quickly with abrupt motions or restless hands may appear anxious or overwhelmed. Because movement arises from internal energy and emotions, it serves as a direct expression of the psychological state. Even the effort to hide nervousness can be detected in small gestures: tapping fingers, fidgeting with objects, shifting weight from foot to foot, or adjusting clothing. These actions are rarely intentional. They are emotional leaks that give valuable insight into how someone truly feels. It is important to understand that first impressions are not always accurate, but they are highly influential. Once the brain forms an initial judgment, it tends to hold on to that judgment and interpret future behavior through the same lens, a phenomenon known as confirmation bias. If someone seems kind at first, we are more likely to interpret their later actions as kind. If someone appears untrustworthy at first, we may look for signs that confirm it, even if none exist. Body language, therefore, does not only influence the first moment of meeting, but also sets the stage for the entire relationship. This is why understanding the psychology of first impressions helps us avoid misinterpretation and encourages us to remain open-minded while still paying attention to important cues. The context of the meeting also influences the impression. Meeting someone in a formal setting, such as a workplace, may produce more controlled and polished behavior, while meeting someone in a casual environment may reveal more natural and relaxed body language. Emotional states also affect first impressions. Someone who is tired, stressed, or distracted may unintentionally give off signals of disinterest or tension, even if they are normally warm and outgoing. Therefore, while first impressions give valuable information, they must be interpreted with sensitivity and awareness of context. Despite these complexities, first impressions remain powerful because they reveal natural, unfiltered reactions. Before the person has time to construct a polished image, their body responds instinctively. This small window of honesty is one of the most valuable opportunities to understand someone's true emotional baseline. For example, if someone's first reaction is a genuine smile before switching to a polite expression, the initial smile may reveal real warmth. If someone's posture is tense at first but relaxes gradually, they may simply need time to feel comfortable. Observing these early shifts helps you understand the person beyond what they say or how they attempt to present themselves. Another essential aspect of first impressions is the interplay between dominance and submission, concepts deeply rooted in human psychology. Dominance does not necessarily mean aggression. It simply refers to confidence and presence. People who feel secure typically adopt expansive posture, take up space, make steady eye contact, and move with intention. In contrast, people who feel anxious or subordinate often reduce their physical size, lower their gaze, or minimize movement. These signals help establish social hierarchies quickly and silently. Recognizing them allows you to understand how someone sees themselves in relation to others, which becomes important in social, professional, and personal interactions. Just as we observe others' body language, others observe ours. Our posture, facial expressions, and energy influence how people respond to us. When we appear confident and open, people treat us with respect and warmth. When we appear tense or withdrawn, people may respond with caution or distance. The psychology of first impressions teaches us that body language not only reveals our internal state, but also shapes the environment around us. This is why improving our own nonverbal communication can open doors, build trust, and make relationships smoother and more positive. It is also important to note that while first impressions form quickly, they also develop in layers. The very first second forms a raw, instinctive impression based on emotional cues. The next few seconds include a more detailed scan, posture, hygiene, clothing, and facial expression. The following minute adds additional information from voice tone, pace of movement, and the rhythm of interaction. Each layer builds upon the previous ones, creating a fuller image. Understanding this process helps you observe people with greater depth, rather than relying solely on the initial glance. First impressions are powerful, not because they are always accurate, but because they are immediate, emotional, and deeply rooted in human psychology. They reveal important clues about how a person feels, how they see themselves, and how they respond to the world. As a reader of body language, your goal is not to judge people quickly or label them based on these impressions. Instead, your goal is to use these early signals as valuable information, pieces of a larger puzzle that help you understand others with empathy and clarity. This chapter highlights the importance of being attentive during the first moments of meeting someone. These brief seconds contain a wealth of psychological information, often more honest and insightful than later behavior. When you understand how the brain forms impressions, why body language is so influential, and how to interpret posture, expression, and movement, you become better equipped to read people accurately from the very beginning. The next chapters will explore specific signals in detail, teaching you how to read the face, the posture, the hands, and the overall behavior of the people you interact with. But first, it is essential to appreciate the silent power of first impressions, the moment when the truth of the body speaks most clearly before words have the chance to shape perception. Chapter 3. Understanding the face, the most honest part of the body. Among all parts of the human body, the face holds a unique position. It is the primary stage upon which emotions perform, the canvas on which inner feelings are painted with remarkable clarity. Even when the rest of the body remains still, the face continues to move, reflect, and reveal. It is almost impossible for someone to hide the micro-expressions that flash across their face in mere fractions of a second. These tiny movements, often unnoticed consciously, send powerful messages directly to the observer's emotional brain. The face speaks before the mouth does, and sometimes it speaks the truth even when the tongue does not. To understand people instantly, you must learn to observe the face, not with judgment, but with curiosity and awareness of the deep psychological processes behind each muscle contraction, each glance, and each subtle expression. The face is the most expressive part of the body because it contains an extraordinary number of muscles dedicated specifically to communication. These muscles move the eyebrows, the eyelids, the cheeks, the mouth, and other facial features in complex combinations. Each movement is connected to emotional circuits in the limbic system. When someone feels fear, happiness, anger, disgust, sadness, or surprise, their facial muscles react automatically. These reactions are not learned behavior. They are universal and appear across all cultures. Even people who have been blind from birth, having never seen another person's expression, display the exact same facial movements for the same emotions. This universality proves that facial expressions are rooted in human biology, not cultural teaching. They are the purest, most instinctive form of emotional communication. One of the most important aspects of reading the face is understanding micro-expressions. These are extremely brief facial expressions, lasting between 1/25th and 1/15th of a second, that reveal genuine emotion before a person has time to control their face consciously. Micro-expressions happen when the emotional brain reacts faster than the rational brain can intervene. For example, if someone feels genuine anger, their brows may lower in a quick flash before they force a polite smile. If someone feels sadness, their eyes may soften momentarily before they compose themselves. Because microexpressions are so fast, most people do not notice them consciously, but the subconscious mind often detects them and generates a feeling, an inexplicable sense that something is off or that someone is not being entirely honest. Developing the ability to recognize microexpressions gives you an extraordinary advantage in understanding people's true emotional states. However, microexpressions are only part of the story. Larger expressions, though easier to fake, also provide valuable information. A smile, for instance, can reveal a range of emotions depending on its intensity, duration, and the muscles involved. A genuine smile, known as a Duchenne smile, involves not only the mouth but also the muscles around the eyes. The cheeks lift, the eyes narrow slightly, and tiny lines may appear at the corners. This kind of smile cannot be easily faked. It reflects real joy or warmth. In contrast, a polite or forced smile usually involves only the mouth, with the eyes remaining unchanged. The brain recognizes this difference instinctively, even if we are not conscious of it. When someone gives a fake smile, we may feel that something about the expression is insincere or incomplete. Observing the eyes while someone smiles is therefore one of the most reliable ways to evaluate the authenticity of their emotion. The eyebrows also play a crucial role in facial communication. Their movements are tightly connected to human psychology. Raised eyebrows often signal surprise, curiosity, or openness, while lowered eyebrows may indicate anger, focus, or confusion. A quick eyebrow flash, where the eyebrows lift briefly when greeting someone, serves as a universal signal of acknowledgement and friendliness. It is a harmless gesture that communicates recognition and non-threat. However, eyebrows drawn together and downward can indicate discomfort or aggression. These movements occur involuntarily, making them important cues to observe when trying to gauge someone's emotional state. The eyes themselves are perhaps the most revealing part of the face. Often called windows to the soul, the eyes display emotion with remarkable transparency. They widen when someone is surprised or frightened, narrow when someone is suspicious or angry, and soften when someone feels affection or empathy. The direction of gaze is also important. People look at what they are thinking about. When someone is recalling a memory, their eyes may drift upward or sideways. When someone is unsure or anxious, their gaze may dart quickly, scanning the environment for information. Avoiding eye contact can indicate shyness or discomfort, but it can also reflect cultural norms or personal habits. On the other hand, holding eye contact for too long can feel intrusive or dominant. Understanding the context and the person's baseline behavior is essential when interpreting eye movements. Pupil dilation is another subtle but powerful indicator of emotion. The pupils expand when someone is interested, attracted, or emotionally stimulated, and they contract when someone is experiencing fear, anger, or disinterest. Because the pupils are controlled by the autonomic nervous system, they cannot be consciously manipulated. This makes pupil size one of the most honest signs of emotional arousal. While lighting conditions also affect pupil size, observing changes during conversation can provide clues to someone's internal reactions. The mouth offers its own rich vocabulary of expressions. Tight lips often indicate tension or restraint, as if the person is holding back words or emotions. A slightly open mouth may signal shock, confusion, or anticipation. Biting the lip can indicate nervousness, insecurity, and in some contexts, attraction. The corners of the mouth reveal subtle emotional shifts. A slight downturn can show sadness or disappointment, while a small upward curve can indicate amusement or agreement. Even the speed at which someone smiles or stops smiling is meaningful. Genuine smiles appear gradually, peaking naturally and fading smoothly. Fake smiles often appear suddenly and disappear just as quickly, lacking the softness of authentic emotion. Another important aspect of the face is asymmetry. When someone forces an expression, such as a polite smile or a staged look of interest, the expression often appears uneven. For example, one side of the mouth may lift slightly higher than the other. This asymmetry occurs because fake expressions are controlled by the conscious brain, which manages only certain facial muscles, while genuine expressions involve deeper emotional circuits that activate muscles on both sides simultaneously. Asymmetry can therefore be an indicator of forced or insincere emotion. However, it is important to avoid jumping to conclusions too quickly. Natural facial differences and habits must also be considered. The cheeks and jaw also reveal emotional tension. When someone is stressed, their jaw may tighten or clench slightly, even if they appear calm. The cheeks may become firm and the muscles around the nose may contract. These signs indicate internal pressure or discomfort, often before the person speaks a word. On the other hand, relaxed cheeks and a loose jaw suggest ease and comfort. These subtle muscular changes are controlled by the limbic system and therefore serve as honest indicators of emotional states. One of the most powerful ways to read the face is to observe changes rather than fixed expressions. A single expression may not provide enough information, but shifts in expression reveal emotional transitions. For example, if someone greets you with a neutral expression and then their face brightens into a genuine smile, the transition suggests authentic warmth. If someone begins with a smile but quickly returns to tension or neutrality, the shift may indicate uncertainty or discomfort. Emotional truth often lies in these changes, not in the expressions themselves. The face is dynamic, constantly adjusting in response to internal and external stimuli, and these adjustments are windows into the person's psychological state. It is also essential to consider cultural influences. While basic emotional expressions are universal, cultural norms shape how freely people display them. In some cultures, expressing strong emotions publicly is discouraged, leading to more controlled facial behavior. In others, animated expressions are normal and expected. When reading the face, it is important to understand the cultural background of the person and adjust expectations accordingly. However, micro-expressions remain largely universal because they come from the unconscious emotional brain, not cultural learning. Understanding the face requires not only knowledge, but also patience and observation. Many people attempt to interpret facial expressions too quickly, relying on stereotypes or assumptions. Effective reading requires watching carefully, noticing small details, and interpreting them within the context of the situation. The goal is not to catch people or expose hidden emotions, but to understand them more deeply. When you learn to read the face with empathy, you build stronger connections, reduce misunderstandings, and enhance communication in meaningful ways. The power of the face lies in its honesty. Even when the mouth speaks confidently, the eyebrows may reveal doubt. Even when the words express enthusiasm, the eyes may show tiredness or irritation. The face is a battlefield between the emotional brain and the rational brain, and the emotional brain often wins. This is why learning to read facial expressions is one of the most valuable skills in understanding people instantly. It allows you to see beyond the surface, to perceive emotions that might otherwise remain hidden, and to respond in ways that acknowledge the other person's internal experience. The face communicates constantly, whether through micro-expressions, eye movements, muscle tension, or subtle shifts. By learning to observe these cues, you gain access to a deeper level of human communication. The goal is not to judge or control others, but to understand them with greater compassion and clarity. As you continue through this book, you will learn how to integrate facial cues with posture, voice, and overall behavior to form accurate, nuanced interpretations of human emotion. But it begins with the face, the most expressive, truthful, and revealing part of the human body. Chapter 4. The Language of Posture. How the body reveals confidence, fear, and intention. While the face may be the most expressive part of the body, posture is the foundation on which all nonverbal communication rests. It is the framework that supports movement, expression, and emotional energy. Unlike facial expressions, which can be consciously controlled for short moments, posture is far more difficult to manage deliberately. It reflects long-term habits, emotional states, levels of confidence, and even a person's history. Posture communicates instantly and continuously. It tells others whether we feel strong or weak, open or guarded, comfortable or tense. In many ways, posture is the silent narrator of the body's internal story. To read people effectively, you must learn to interpret the meaning behind the positions they adopt, the way they carry themselves, and the subtle shifts in their stance that reveal hidden emotions. Posture is deeply connected to the limbic system, which means it responds directly to emotional stimuli. When someone feels confident, their body expands naturally. Their chest opens, their shoulders relax, and their spine becomes straight without appearing rigid. They occupy space comfortably, as if they believe they have the right to be present. This expansive posture signals strength and security, both to themselves and to others. Conversely, when someone feels insecure or anxious, they tend to contract physically. Their shoulders may hunch forward, their head may lower slightly, and their body may curl inward. This shrinking posture signals vulnerability or fear. These reactions are instinctive, rooted in survival mechanisms that helped early humans protect vital organs during danger or display dominance in safe environments. One of the most important distinctions in posture is between open and closed body positions. Open posture involves uncrossed arms, relaxed shoulders, feet positioned naturally apart, and the torso facing the person or situation with ease. This posture communicates openness, willingness to engage, and emotional availability. Closed posture, on the other hand, involves crossed arms, crossed legs, hunched shoulders, and a body angled away from others. This posture signals defensiveness, discomfort, or a desire to create distance. While crossed arms can sometimes simply mean comfort or coldness, they often indicate emotional withdrawal or protection when combined with other cues, such as a tense jaw, narrowed eyes, or minimal movement. Another essential element of posture is alignment, the straightness and coordination of the spine, head, and shoulders. A person with aligned posture appears grounded, balanced, and mentally organized. Misalignment, such as leaning heavily to one side or slouching excessively, can indicate fatigue, sadness, or lack of confidence. People often underestimate how revealing their spinal alignment can be. When someone feels overwhelmed, their posture may collapse inward, signaling emotional weight. When someone feels powerful or successful, they naturally stand taller, as if their body rises to match their internal state. Posture also reveals a great deal about intention. Consider how someone stands when preparing to leave a conversation versus when they want to stay engaged. A person who is eager to exit may shift their weight onto one foot, angle their body toward the door, or take small backward steps. These signals occur long before the person verbalizes their intention to leave. On the other hand, someone who wants to stay communicates it through posture that is stable, balanced, and directed fully at the other person. Their torso and feet point toward the interaction, showing interest and involvement. Understanding these subtle cues allows you to read people's intentions even before they speak, giving you insight into their comfort level and engagement. The position of the feet, although often ignored, is one of the most honest indicators of true emotion. Unlike the face or hands, the feet rarely participate in deliberate attempts to hide feelings. When someone is anxious or uncertain, their feet may shuffle, tap, or point toward an exit. When someone feels relaxed and confident, their feet are still, grounded, and aligned with their body. In social settings, people tend to turn their feet toward those they like or respect. In group conversations, watching where feet point can reveal hidden alliances, disagreements, or levels of interest. These cues are subtle but remarkably reliable because they come from instinctive movements rather than conscious behavior. Weight distribution is another telling aspect of posture. When someone stands with their weight evenly distributed, they appear stable and confident. Uneven weight, such as leaning heavily on one leg or shifting constantly, may indicate impatience, discomfort, or insecurity. Continuous shifting can also signal internal conflict, an emotional tug-of-war between wanting to stay and wanting to leave. Observing how someone distributes their weight over time can provide valuable insight into their emotional state, even when their words seem neutral. Posture also reflects dominance and submission, two powerful psychological forces that shape human interaction. Dominant posture typically involves taking up more space, standing tall, expanding the chest, placing hands on the hips, or elevating the chin. These postures communicate authority, confidence, and readiness. Submissive posture, on the other hand, involves reducing space, lowering the head, bringing the limbs closer to the body, or leaning inward. These postures communicate uncertainty, caution, or a desire to avoid confrontation. Dominance and submission cues appear instinctively, influenced by internal hormone levels such as testosterone and cortisol. Interestingly, adopting dominant posture can actually increase confidence, while adopting submissive posture can increase stress. The body affects the mind, just as the mind affects the body. Another aspect of posture to consider is movement fluidity. Smooth, coordinated movements suggest mental clarity and emotional stability. Stiff or jerky movements may indicate nervousness, hesitation, or internal distraction. Fluid posture does not mean stillness, it means that transitions between movements are natural and unforced. People who feel comfortable in their environment tend to move gracefully without drawing unnecessary attention to their bodies. Those who feel threatened or uncomfortable might move in ways that are abrupt, guarded, or tense. Observing how a person transitions from sitting to standing or from walking to stillness can reveal a surprising amount about their inner confidence and emotional comfort. Sitting posture is another rich source of information. A person who sits at the edge of their seat may be alert, anxious, or eager to leave. Someone who sinks deeply into the chair may be relaxed or disengaged. Crossed legs can indicate comfort or defensiveness, depending on the context. Leaning forward typically signals interest or involvement, while leaning backward may signal detachment or relaxation. The angle of the torso is especially important. When someone angles their torso away from you while sitting, it often indicates emotional distance or discomfort. When they angle toward you, it usually signals openness, curiosity, or respect. These cues become particularly meaningful during serious discussions, negotiations, or emotionally charged conversations. Posture also contains clues about a person's identity and lifetime experiences. People who have spent years in stressful environments may develop chronic tension in their shoulders, neck, or upper back. Those who lack confidence may adopt habitually collapsed posture. Conversely, people raised in supportive environments may naturally develop open posture and relaxed muscles. While interpretation must always be careful and empathetic, recognizing long-term posture patterns helps you understand how a person's history shapes their present behavior. These patterns are not judgments but insights, pieces of a bigger picture that reveal how someone has navigated life. Cultural norms also influence posture, although less dramatically than facial expressions. Some cultures emphasize humility and modesty in posture, encouraging low, inward positions. Others reward openness and expansion. Business cultures often promote upright, confident posture, while social cultures may encourage relaxed, informal stances. Understanding these influences helps prevent misinterpretation. A posture that seems submissive in one culture might simply be polite in another. Context remains essential, and posture should never be judged in isolation. One profound truth about posture is that it is both reactive and communicative. When someone feels insecure, their posture naturally contracts. But if they maintain contracted posture for extended periods, their emotions may shift to match the posture. The relationship between posture and emotion is reciprocal. Changing posture intentionally can change emotional state, just as emotional state changes posture. This means posture is not only a tool for reading others, but also a tool for improving self-confidence, reducing stress, and enhancing communication. Many psychologists teach posture awareness as a method for emotional regulation, using the body to influence the mind. In social interactions, posture shapes relationships long before words take effect. When two people mirror each other's posture, it indicates harmony and connection. When their postures oppose each other, one person leaning forward while the other leans back, it may indicate tension or imbalance. Synchrony in posture often reflects agreement, trust, or emotional closeness. Asynchrony may reflect conflict, discomfort, or mismatched intentions. Observing these dynamics helps you understand who feels aligned with whom, who holds power, and who feels vulnerable in any given situation. Perhaps the most important aspect of reading posture is recognizing changes over time. A person's baseline posture, their natural position when calm, is crucial for comparison. Sudden shifts from open to closed posture or from relaxed to tense posture often signal emotional transitions that words may not express. For example, someone who suddenly crosses their arms during a conversation may have felt threatened or disagreed with something. Someone who unexpectedly straightens their spine may have become alert or defensive. Someone who leans forward after being distant may have developed interest or trust. These transitions are the real language of posture,
the emotional movements that reveal truth beneath the surface. Posture is not simply a physical condition, it is an emotional signature. The way someone stands, sits, moves, or positions their body reflects their inner world in ways words cannot capture. By learning to observe posture with patience, empathy, and accuracy, you gain access to the deeper layers of human communication. You begin to understand not only how people feel, but how they perceive themselves, how they navigate the world, and how they respond to the invisible forces of emotion, history, and instinct. The language of posture is powerful because it is honest. The body cannot easily hide its alignment, its openness, or its tension. While the face may mask emotions for a moment, posture reveals the truth over time. As you continue through this book, you will learn to combine posture with facial expressions, gestures, and tone of voice to form a complete picture of human communication. But posture remains one of the most reliable indicators of confidence, fear, intention, and emotional state. When you learn to read posture effectively, you unlock a crucial key to understanding people instantly and deeply.
Chapter 5. The Hands, the most revealing messengers of emotion. Among all forms of body language, the movements of the hands carry some of the most direct, honest, and meaningful emotional signals. While the face reveals feelings and the posture shows inner confidence or fear, the hands act as the body's primary communicators. They gesture, illustrate, protect, invite, reject, emphasize, and expose emotions with remarkable clarity. Unlike the face, which many people consciously control, and unlike the posture, which often reflects long-term emotional patterns, the hands reveal the immediate truth of the moment. Even when a person tries to hide their feelings, their hands continue to speak. They tremble when anxious, become still when tense, open when confident, and move freely when relaxed. Understanding the language of the hands is essential for reading people instantly, because these gestures often express what the words and face attempt to conceal. The reason the hands are so revealing lies in human evolution. In early human history, the hands were crucial for survival, for signaling danger, forming alliances, offering peace, or showing aggression. Even today, the limbic system, the emotional brain, controls many hand movements automatically. When someone feels threatened, their hands may close into fists or move protectively toward the body. When someone feels safe, their hands open naturally with the palms exposed. This openness is not random, it signals trustworthiness and relaxation. Because these movements are deeply embedded in human instinct, they are difficult to fake convincingly. The hands expose truth because they respond directly to emotional impulses before the conscious mind has time to intervene. One of the most important principles in reading hand language is noticing openness versus closedness. Open hands, palms visible, fingers relaxed, indicate comfort, honesty, and willingness to engage. This gesture appears in greetings, promises, explanations, and reassurance. Even children instinctively show open palms when they want to demonstrate harmlessness. Closed hands, such as fists, hidden hands, or hands tucked tightly under the arms, suggest the opposite. They often reflect fear, defensiveness, anger, or emotional withdrawal. When someone hides their hands during a conversation, it may signal that they feel insecure or that they are withholding information. This does not necessarily indicate dishonesty, but it does reveal an emotional barrier. The position of the hands relative to the body also matters greatly. When someone places their hands near their torso, especially around the stomach or chest, it often reflects vulnerability. The body instinctively protects vital organs when the emotional brain senses discomfort. On the other hand, hands that move outward, away from the body, indicate confidence and openness. This outward movement invites connection, while inward movement signals caution. Observing where the hands naturally rest during conversations provides valuable insight into how safe or threatened a person feels. Gestures are another powerful part of hand communication.
Some people gesture widely and energetically when excited, passionate, or enthusiastic. These expressive gestures reflect strong emotional engagement and confidence. When someone is comfortable with their thoughts and feelings, their hands move freely to support their words. In contrast, minimal or stiff gestures often indicate emotional restraint, uncertainty, or internal conflict. A person who barely moves their hands while speaking may be trying to maintain control or hide discomfort. Excessive, uncontrolled gestures, however, may reflect nervousness or high emotional tension. The key is not the amount of movement, but the consistency between gesture, emotion, and message. One fascinating aspect of hands behavior is self-touching gestures, also known as pacifying behaviors. These are unconscious actions people use to comfort themselves when stressed. Examples include rubbing the hands together, touching the neck, massaging the palm with the thumb, pulling at the fingers, or repeatedly touching the face. These gestures activate the nervous system's calming mechanisms, helping the person regulate anxiety. When you see someone touching their own hands frequently, it often means they are experiencing emotional pressure or uncertainty. Again, this does not necessarily indicate deception, it simply reveals emotional strain. The more frequent the pacifying gestures, the stronger the internal discomfort. The hands are also central in detecting liars, although this must be approached with great caution. People often associate dishonesty with fidgeting, covering the mouth, or hiding the hands, but these cues reveal stress, not necessarily lies. A truthful person may show stress while telling something painful or embarrassing. A dishonest person, if practiced, may remain physically calm. However, the emotional brain struggles to remain still during deception. When someone is lying, their hands may freeze unnaturally, as if their body is trying too hard to appear controlled. Or their hands may engage in small pacifying gestures to soothe anxiety. The key is not to label someone based on one gesture, but to look for clusters of inconsistent signals, confident words paired with nervous hands, calm posture with restless fingers, or forced facial expressions with protective hand movements.
Another powerful element of hand communication involves exaggerations and reductions. When someone is excited or strongly invested in a topic, their gestures often become larger and more animated. Their hands illustrate stories, show shapes, measure distances, or emphasize points. But when someone wants to minimize something, an error, a lie, or a sensitive topic, their gestures may become smaller, tighter, or restricted, as if their body is literally reducing the importance of what they are saying. These patterns can help you understand not only emotional truth, but also how strongly someone feels about their words. The speed of hand movement is equally revealing. Fast gestures often indicate enthusiasm, impatience, nervous energy, or rising emotion. Slow, controlled gestures suggest confidence, thoughtfulness, or intentional communication. When someone's gestures slow down suddenly during a conversation, it may indicate hesitation or caution. When gestures speed up, it may reveal growing emotional activation. Watching these shifts helps you understand the flow of someone's internal emotional state in real time. Handshakes, though simple, provide a wealth of information. A firm, balanced handshake suggests confidence and warmth. A weak handshake often indicates insecurity, shyness, or emotional detachment. An overly strong handshake may signal dominance, competitiveness, or an attempt to project confidence. Handshakes also reveal how comfortable someone feels with physical contact. A person who avoids contact may simply be introverted or cautious, while someone who seeks prolonged contact may be signaling friendliness or desire for connection. Cultural factors must always be considered, but the emotional content of a handshake is rarely accidental. Hand placement during conversation reveals deeper psychological meaning. When someone places their hands behind their back, it often signals confidence or a desire to appear composed. When hands are placed in pockets, it may indicate shyness or detachment, although in casual environments it can simply be a habit. Hands clasped tightly together reflect effort to suppress emotion or maintain control. Hands resting gently on the lap or table indicate calmness. Each placement reflects an unconscious decision made by the emotional brain. People also use their hands to protect themselves when feeling vulnerable. Covering the neck, holding the opposite wrist, or placing a hand across the stomach are all protective gestures. These movements are rooted in ancient survival instincts. The body shields vital areas during emotional stress. The more often someone uses protective hand gestures, the more they may be experiencing internal anxiety. These gestures reveal not only emotional states, but also the intensity of those states. Another key insight is that the hands often move before the rest of the body reacts emotionally. For example, before someone turns away from an uncomfortable topic, their hands may shift away from the interaction. Before someone interrupts a conversation, their hands may rise slightly, preparing to gesture. Before someone decides to reject an idea, their fingers may tighten or curl inward. The hands give advance notice of emotional and psychological transitions, allowing you to anticipate a person's response even before they express it verbally. The hands also reflect personality. People who are expressive, emotional, or creative often use broad, flowing gestures. Those who are analytical or introverted may gesture minimally but with precision. People who lack confidence may keep their hands close to the body, while confident individuals allow their hands to move freely in open space. Over time, hand behavior forms patterns that reflect stable traits. Observing these patterns helps you understand not only momentary emotions, but deeper personality characteristics. Cultural influences shape hand communication significantly. Some cultures use hand gestures heavily in daily speech, while others use them sparingly. Certain gestures are positive in one culture and offensive in another. However, the emotional cues behind protective gestures, pacifying gestures, and openness versus closedness remain universally meaningful because they originate in the emotional brain. As always, interpreting hand behavior requires sensitivity to cultural context and personal habits. The power of reading hand language lies not in analyzing isolated gestures, but in understanding the emotional logic behind them. The hands act as emotional amplifiers, reflecting the psychological intensity of the moment. They expand with confidence, contract with fear, soothe with self-touch, protect with defensive positioning, and reveal truth through micro-movements. They are honest, active, and expressive. By observing the hands with patience and awareness, you open a deeper level of human understanding. You begin to see hesitation before it appears in the face. You recognize confidence before it shows in the voice. You detect discomfort before it becomes verbalized. The hands reveal the emotional truth of the moment, not through complex interpretation, but through simple, instinctive signals that humans have used for thousands of years. In the chapters ahead, you will learn to integrate hand language with posture, facial expressions, and tone of voice to create a clear, multidimensional understanding of human behavior. But the hands alone offer a powerful tool for reading emotions instantly, accurately, and compassionately. They are the body's most revealing messengers, and once you learn to read them, you will never see human interaction the same way again. Chapter 6: The Voice and Its Hidden Messages. Understanding Tone, Rhythm, and Emotional Frequency. Although body language is often thought of as purely physical, expressed through the face, posture, and hands, the voice is equally powerful in revealing a person's true emotional state. The voice is not just a tool for delivering words, it is a living instrument shaped by breath, emotion, nervous system activity, and inner psychological energy. The tone, rhythm, and pace of a person's voice communicate feelings far more honestly than their chosen vocabulary. Even when someone carefully constructs their sentences, their voice often betrays the truth. It trembles when they are afraid, rises when they are excited, sharpens when they are angry, softens when they are compassionate, and flattens when they are sad or detached.
Understanding the hidden messages of the voice gives you access to another dimension of nonverbal communication, a dimension that cannot be masked easily, and that often reveals what someone truly feels before their body even reacts. The voice is directly connected to the emotional brain, especially the limbic system, which controls breathing, heart rate, and muscle tension. When emotions change, breathing patterns shift immediately. These breathing changes influence vocal quality, causing subtle variations that are impossible to hide. For example, when someone is anxious, their breathing becomes shallow and rapid, and this results in a higher pitch, faster pace, and tighter tone. When someone is relaxed, their breathing is deeper and slower, producing a warm, steady, and calm vocal sound. Even if a person tries to maintain a neutral voice, the emotional brain influences the muscles around the vocal cords, shaping tone and rhythm in ways that reflect true feelings. One of the most important features of the voice is tone, which conveys emotional attitude more clearly than words do. Tone communicates whether someone feels enthusiastic, irritated, bored, confident, nervous, or sincere. A rising tone often indicates uncertainty or questioning, especially when it appears at the end of statements rather than questions. A falling tone suggests confidence or finality. A flat tone can indicate emotional numbness or low energy. A soft tone may reflect vulnerability or affection, while a sharp or clipped tone may signal frustration or defensiveness. The emotional content behind tone emerges automatically, revealing the person's state of mind even when they want to appear controlled. Listening carefully to someone's tone allows you to understand the emotional layer beneath their words. Another crucial aspect of the voice is pace, the speed at which someone speaks. People speak more quickly when they are excited, nervous, insecure, or attempting to hide something. The emotional brain stimulates the nervous system, increasing energy and speeding up speech. Conversely, slow speech can indicate calmness, confidence, or sadness. When someone slows down suddenly during conversation, it often signals hesitation, internal conflict, or caution. They may be choosing their words carefully or emotionally distancing themselves from the topic. When speech becomes erratic, shifting rapidly between fast and slow, the person may be experiencing fluctuating emotions or uncertainty. Observing changes in pace allows you to follow someone's emotional journey in real time.
Volume also offers insight into emotional states. A person who raises their voice frequently may be expressing anger, frustration, or excitement. However, volume alone is not enough to interpret emotion accurately. Some people naturally speak loudly due to personality or cultural norms. Instead, the key is observing changes in volume. When someone who usually speaks softly suddenly becomes loud, they may be feeling strong emotion. When someone who is typically loud becomes quiet, it may indicate fear, sadness, or withdrawal. Dramatic volume changes within a single conversation often reveal emotional triggers, moments that provoke deeper feelings than the person admits. Rhythmic rhythm, the pattern of pauses, emphasis, and flow, is another rich source of emotional information. People who feel comfortable and confident tend to speak in smooth, balanced rhythms. Their words flow naturally, with pauses occurring at logical points. When someone is nervous, their rhythm may become irregular, pauses appear unexpectedly, words may come in bursts, or sentences may trail off. Excessive pausing often indicates internal conflict, as if the person's mind is searching for safe or acceptable words. In contrast, someone who speaks without pausing may be masking anxiety by filling silence, or may be emotionally overwhelmed. Rhythm reveals the underlying structure of someone's thoughts and emotions, making it an essential element of vocal analysis. The voice can also display micro-emotional leaks, similar to micro-expressions on the face. These leaks appear as quick changes in pitch, breath, or volume, tiny cracks in the voice that reveal hidden feelings. For example, a person claiming to be fine may experience a brief tremor in their voice, revealing sadness or fear. Someone trying to hide anger may speak evenly but allow a momentary sharp edge to slip through. These leaks are difficult to detect consciously, but once you learn to listen for them, they become clear indicators of emotion. Even word choice and sentence structure, although verbal, are influenced by emotional state. People experiencing stress often use shorter sentences or repeat certain phrases. They may stutter slightly or correct themselves more frequently. While this chapter focuses on nonverbal aspects of the voice, understanding how language changes under emotional pressure enhances your ability to interpret vocal signals accurately.
One fascinating insight is that the voice often reveals emotion before the face or body does. This happens because vocal changes result from internal physiological reactions, shifts in breath, heart rate, and muscle tension, triggered instantly by the emotional brain. For example, when someone is surprised or overwhelmed, their voice may crack or rise suddenly, even if their facial expression remains controlled. When someone feels affectionate or relieved, the warmth in their voice appears before their posture relaxes. This makes the voice a valuable early detector of emotional truth. Another important factor is vocal consistency. When someone's vocal tone matches their words and body language, it suggests alignment and sincerity. However, when the tone contradicts their verbal message, for example, when someone says, "I'm happy" with a flat or tense voice, it indicates emotional conflict or lack of authenticity. Vocal inconsistency is often a more powerful indicator of hidden emotion than facial expressions or posture, because the voice is harder to disguise deliberately. The voice also reveals dominance and submission, similar to posture. Dominant individuals often speak with steady, controlled tone, moderate pace, and clear articulation. Their voices project confidence and authority. Submissive individuals may speak softly, hesitantly, or with rising inflections that express uncertainty. These vocal patterns are not judgments, but reflections of internal emotional states and self-perception. When someone feels inferior, their voice reveals it long before their posture does. When someone feels empowered or determined, their voice strengthens accordingly. Stress and anxiety have unmistakable effects on the voice. During stress, the body releases adrenaline, which tightens muscles, including those around the vocal cords. This tension makes the voice sound higher, thinner, or tighter. Breathing becomes irregular, causing phrases to come out with uneven force. Someone who is nervous may also clear their throat frequently, swallow more often, or take short, rapid breaths between sentences. These vocal signs are not intentional. They are physiological consequences of emotional activation. Emotional presence or absence is also reflected in the voice. A person who is emotionally present speaks with warmth, modulation, and full breath support. Their voice resonates, conveying energy and authenticity. A person who is emotionally detached or trying to suppress emotion often speaks in a flat or monotone voice. Their vocal energy appears restricted, as if they are withholding emotional investment. Monotone speech can reflect exhaustion, depression, fear, shyness, or deliberate distancing. Again, context is essential for accurate interpretation. Cultural influences shape vocal behavior, just as they shape posture and facial expression. Some cultures encourage emotional expressiveness through tone and volume, while others promote restraint. However, emotional leaks, such as tremors, cracks, or sudden changes in pitch, remain universal because they originate from the limbic system rather than cultural training. Understanding cultural norms helps avoid misinterpretation, but the emotional content behind vocal changes remains reliable across backgrounds. One powerful technique in voice reading is paying attention to what happens when emotion shifts. For example, when discussing a painful topic, someone's tone may soften, their pace may slow, and their voice may drop in volume. When the topic changes to something joyful, their pitch may rise, their speech may become smoother, and their rhythm may brighten. These transitions offer insight into how different subjects affect the person emotionally. Emotional truth is often found not in the words themselves, but in how the voice reacts to them. The voice also influences the listener's emotions directly. A warm, steady voice creates comfort and trust. A harsh or tense voice generates stress or defensiveness. This is why leaders, teachers, and public speakers focus heavily on vocal control. When reading others, understanding how their voice affects you helps clarify their emotional state. If someone's voice makes you feel rushed, pressured, or uneasy, they may be experiencing internal agitation. If their voice feels soothing or grounding, they may be emotionally stable. Your emotional reactions provide additional clues, though they must always be interpreted with awareness of your own biases. When combining vocal signals with other forms of body language, you gain a multidimensional understanding of emotion. For example, someone whose voice sounds confident while their posture appears closed may be masking insecurity. Someone whose voice trembles while their eyes remain steady may be experiencing emotional vulnerability. Contradictions between voice and other cues are especially important because they reveal psychological conflict, moments when the emotional truth competes with the desire to appear in control. The voice is one of the most powerful yet underappreciated forms of body language. Many people focus on facial expressions or posture, forgetting that the voice carries enormous emotional weight. It is in the voice that fear whispers before it shows on the face, where excitement dances before it appears in the hands, and where sadness sinks before it is expressed through posture. It is the emotional frequency that resonates between people, shaping how we interpret each other's intentions, sincerity, and emotional states. By learning to listen beyond words, listening to tone, pace, rhythm, pitch, volume, breath, and the subtle cracks that reveal deeper truths, you gain access to an emotional world that most people overlook. This chapter gives you the foundation for understanding the voice as a psychological instrument, one that reflects emotion with remarkable honesty. In the chapters ahead, you will learn how to combine the insights of the face, posture, hands, and voice into a unified system of reading people instantly and accurately. But the voice stands on its own as one of the clearest pathways into the human heart, a bridge between inner emotion and outward expression that reveals far more than words ever could. Chapter 7: Deception and Truth: How the Body Reveals What Words Hide. Human beings lie more often than we realize, not always with harmful intentions, but frequently to protect feelings, avoid conflict, maintain privacy, or preserve dignity. People soften their words, hide their discomfort, exaggerate their confidence, or mask their insecurities. Yet, while words can be chosen carefully, the body speaks with far less control. It reflects emotional truth, not verbal narrative. When someone lies, their emotional brain experiences stress, conflict, or anxiety because deception requires cognitive effort. The body reacts to this inner tension through small, often unconscious signals, shifts in posture, changes in tone, micro-expressions, or nervous hand movements. These signals do not always mean someone is lying, but they indicate emotional strain. Understanding these cues allows you to notice when words and internal emotions do not match. This chapter explores how deception works psychologically, why the body reveals truth, and how to read the subtle inconsistencies that expose hidden emotions. To understand deception, we must look first at the cognitive load it creates. Telling the truth is a simple process. The emotional brain reacts, the memory provides accurate information, and the words flow naturally. Lying, however, requires additional steps. The liar must fabricate information, monitor the listener's reaction, avoid contradicting themselves, and suppress natural emotional responses. This overloads the prefrontal cortex, the rational part of the brain, which is already slower than the emotional brain. As a result, small leaks appear in body language because the cognitive brain cannot perfectly control all physical channels. These leaks do not prove deception,
but they reveal heightened mental effort. One of the most common signs of deception is inconsistency, when different parts of the person's communication do not align. For example, someone may say, "I'm confident about this," while their posture closes in or their voice trembles. They may say, "I'm not upset," while their face tightens or their hands fidget nervously. These contradictions arise because the emotional brain and the verbal message do not match. The emotional brain reacts instinctively, while the verbal message requires conscious construction. When you observe misalignment between words and body language, you are witnessing internal conflict. This conflict does not always mean dishonesty. It may reflect embarrassment, fear, or uncertainty, but it is a reliable indicator that the emotional truth differs from the verbal presentation. The face, although expressive, is also one of the easiest parts of the body for liars to control, at least temporarily. Many people believe their deception will be detected in their facial expression, so they attempt to appear neutral, pleasant, or composed. Yet the emotional brain often forces small micro-expressions to leak through. These tiny flashes of guilt, fear, surprise, or irritation appear and disappear before the conscious mind can intervene. A slight downward pull of the lips may show sadness. A brief tightening of the eyes may indicate anxiety. A quick lift of the eyebrows may reveal surprise at their own words. These micro-expressions are powerful clues because they emerge directly from emotional circuits rather than deliberate thought. The eyes reveal another crucial layer of deception. Contrary to popular belief, liars do not always avoid eye contact. Many inexperienced observers mistakenly assume that looking away indicates lying, but this can also indicate nervousness, cultural norms, or respect. Some liars even force themselves to maintain strong eye contact to appear sincere. What truly matters is eye behavior, not the presence or absence of eye contact. During deception, the eyes might blink more rapidly due to stress, or they might blink less because the liar is concentrating intensely. The muscles around the eyes may tense, revealing hidden emotional strain. The pupils may constrict slightly under stress or dilate due to adrenaline. These subtle cues provide more reliable insight than simplistic assumptions about gaze direction. The voice, too, changes under the pressure of deception. Because lying increases cognitive load and emotional tension, the voice often tightens, rises in pitch, or becomes uneven. Speech may speed up as the liar attempts to move past the uncomfortable topic, or it may slow down as they carefully choose their words. Sudden pauses, throat clearing, stuttering, or breathlessness can also appear. These cues reflect stress, not dishonesty itself, but they indicate that the subject triggers emotional discomfort. A person telling the truth about something stressful may show the same signs. This is why vocal cues must be interpreted alongside other forms of body language. Hands are among the most revealing indicators during deception because they are difficult to control consciously. When someone lies, they may engage in pacifying gestures, rubbing their hands together, touching their neck, scratching their arm, or fidgeting with objects. These behaviors are efforts to soothe internal discomfort. In some cases, the hands may freeze unnaturally, as if the person is trying too hard to appear controlled. This stillness can be a stronger indicator of deception than movement because it contradicts the body's natural instinct to release tension. The key is not whether the hands move or remain still, but whether the behavior matches the person's baseline and emotional context. Posture also reveals emotional conflict. During deception, people often shrink slightly as if trying to escape emotional exposure. Their shoulders may tense, their torso may angle away, or their feet may point toward the exit. These movements reflect subconscious desire to reduce vulnerability. Conversely, some liars adopt dominant posture in an attempt to appear confident, standing straighter than usual or spreading their arms unnaturally wide. Extreme posture shifts, either toward excessive openness or excessive withdrawal, can signal underlying emotional tension.
Another important clue lies in overcompensation. When someone lies, they may work too hard to appear sincere, using exaggerated gestures, overly detailed explanations, or forced smiles. Overcompensation is the body's attempt to hide internal discomfort by projecting an image of confidence or calmness. For example, someone might maintain constant eye contact even when it feels unnatural, or they may smile excessively while discussing a serious topic. These behaviors often feel off because they lack emotional authenticity. When gestures do not reflect genuine emotion, the mismatch becomes noticeable, even if the observer cannot articulate why. One of the most reliable indicators of deception is change from baseline. Every person has natural patterns of speech, gesture, pace, and posture. When these patterns suddenly shift during specific topics or questions, it suggests that the subject triggers emotional stress. For example, someone who normally gestures freely may suddenly hide their hands. Someone who normally speaks calmly may begin to rush. Someone who usually maintains open posture may lean back defensively. These shifts reveal emotional reactions to the subject matter, even if the person seems outwardly composed.
Another powerful tool for detecting deception is noticing time delays between expression and speech. When someone tells the truth, emotional and verbal reactions align naturally. For example, when they say, "I'm happy," the smile appears simultaneously or slightly before the words. When someone lies, the verbal message may precede the emotional expression as the person tries to construct an appropriate face. If someone says, "I'm excited," and then smiles a moment too late, the smile may be forced. Timing is an essential element of emotional authenticity. Deception also shows through lack of detail or excessive detail. People who lie often struggle to maintain consistency. They may provide vague descriptions that avoid specifics, or they may offer too many unnecessary details in an attempt to seem convincing. This chapter, however, does not focus on verbal structure, but acknowledges that body language often accompanies these verbal strategies. When someone avoids detail due to lying, their body may appear tense or closed. When someone offers excessive detail, their gestures may become stiff or forced, indicating cognitive effort. It is critical to understand that body language does not detect lies. It detects emotional states, stress, discomfort, fear, uncertainty, or internal conflict. These states may arise from lying, but they may also arise from embarrassment, trauma, shyness, or social anxiety. A person may appear dishonest yet be completely truthful. Another person may lie calmly with minimal emotional reaction due to experience, personality, or psychological traits. Therefore, the goal of reading body language is not to accuse, but to understand. It is to notice contradictions, emotional spikes, and changes from baseline that reveal deeper emotional dynamics. The most ethical and effective approach to detecting deception is focusing on clusters of behavioral cues, not single gestures. A single pacifying gesture means little. A single tone shift means little. A single micro-expression means little. But when multiple cues align, such as tense shoulders, fast speech, a forced smile, and hidden hands during a specific question, the emotional contradiction becomes more meaningful. These clusters, combined with timeline analysis and context, help you form a clearer understanding of the emotional truth behind the words.
In some situations, people exhibit truthful distress, emotional discomfort while telling the truth because the topic is painful or vulnerable. This distress can mimic deception cues. The difference is in directionality. Truthful distress usually appears alongside gestures that seek connection or emotional release, such as open palms, soft eyes, or self-soothing touches. Deceptive distress, however, often appears alongside distancing gestures, closed posture, hiding hands, angled body, or controlled facial expressions. Recognizing this difference requires empathy, not suspicion.
Another important insight is that skilled liars often rely on stillness, not agitation. They minimize gestures to avoid revealing emotional leakage. Their face may remain neutral, their voice steady, and their movements calculated. Yet, even in stillness, subtle cues appear. Reduced blinking, strained vocal tone, frozen shoulders, or lack of synchrony between speech and expression. Skilled liars focus on controlling big gestures, but often neglect micro cues. It is in these micro cues that emotional truth emerges. Conversely, some people show nervous honesty. They fidget, tremble, or avoid eye contact simply because they feel vulnerable or fear being misunderstood. This is why emotional context matters. When reading deception, the goal is to observe contradictions between what they say, how they say it, and how their body behaves. These contradictions reveal emotional tension that requires further understanding. Ultimately, deception detection is not about becoming suspicious of others. It is about noticing emotional misalignment. It is about listening beyond words and observing the emotional truth expressed through posture, expression, voice, and gesture. The body does not reveal lies, it reveals emotions. When you understand these emotions, you understand the meaning beneath the surface. This chapter teaches you that truth is not only spoken, it is shown. Lies are not exposed through magical signals, but through emotional contradictions. The body does not accuse, it simply reveals. As you master the art of reading deception and truth, you gain not only insight into others, but also a deeper understanding of human vulnerability. People lie for many reasons, most of them rooted in fear, protection, or insecurity. Approaching these cues with compassion rather than judgment allows you to form stronger connections and respond with wisdom rather than suspicion. In the next chapters, we will explore how to combine all these individual signals into a coherent system, how to read people not piece by piece, but as complete emotional beings. But before that, it is essential to understand deception not as a flaw, but as an emotional response, and truth not as a statement, but as an alignment between the body, mind, and heart.
Chapter 8: The Lens That Shapes All Body Language Interpretation. No matter how skilled you become at reading faces, hands, posture, and voice, your interpretations will always remain incomplete without one crucial element: context. Context is the lens through which all body language must be understood. Without it, gestures lose meaning, expressions become ambiguous, and conclusions risk becoming inaccurate or even unfair. A gesture that indicates nervousness in one situation may indicate excitement in another. A posture that signals defensiveness in one culture may signal respect in another. A vocal tremor that suggests lying in one conversation may simply reflect fatigue or anxiety in a different setting. Body language does not exist in a vacuum. It is a reflection of the environment, emotional atmosphere, personal history, and moment-to-moment psychological state of the individual. To read people effectively, you must learn to interpret signals within the broader frame of context, both external and internal. Context begins with the physical environment. People behave differently depending on where they are, who is present, and what the situation demands. For example, someone may appear tense during a job interview, not because they are hiding something, but because the environment is inherently stressful. A person may cross their arms outside in cold weather simply to keep warm, not because they feel defensive. Someone may speak softly in a library due to environmental norms, not due to insecurity. Observing body language without considering environmental factors can lead to false conclusions. The same gesture means different things in different settings. A skilled reader of people must first ask, what is the environment? What pressures or expectations does it create? How might those pressures influence body behavior? Social context is equally important. People adjust their body language depending on who they are interacting with. A person may behave confidently among friends, but appear reserved around authority figures. Someone who is introverted may appear closed in a large group, but open and expressive in a one-on-one conversation.
A person may adopt formal posture in front of strangers, but relaxed posture with family. Understanding social dynamics helps you see body language not as an isolated action, but as a response to interpersonal relationships. For example, if someone avoids eye contact with a parent, it may reflect respect or cultural expectation rather than discomfort. If someone fidgets around someone they admire, it may be due to excitement rather than anxiety. Social context shapes emotional behavior, and that context must be understood before interpreting any signal.
Internal psychological context, what is happening inside the person, is even more vital, though often invisible. People carry emotional histories that influence how they move, speak, and respond. Someone who has experienced social rejection may adopt closed posture even when they feel comfortable simply because it has become a protective habit. Someone dealing with chronic stress may have tense shoulders regardless of the situation. Someone who is shy may avoid eye contact by default, not because they are dishonest or uncomfortable in the moment. To read body language accurately, you must understand that not all behavior reflects the immediate situation. Much of it reflects long-term emotional patterns. Observing baseline behavior, how the person behaves when calm, is essential for this reason. Deviations from baseline, more than isolated gestures, reveal emotional truth. Cultural context plays a significant role in shaping nonverbal communication. Different cultures have different norms regarding eye contact, personal space, hand gestures, and emotional expression. For example, direct eye contact may be seen as a sign of confidence in some cultures, but as disrespect in others. Standing close during conversation may be normal in one culture, but intrusive in another. Expressive gestures that reflect enthusiasm in one region may appear aggressive elsewhere. Cultural differences do not change the underlying emotional brain, but they change the outward expression of that emotion. Therefore, reading body language across cultures requires awareness, humility, and sensitivity. A gesture must always be evaluated through the cultural lens of the person who displays it, not through personal assumptions. Context also includes the emotional atmosphere of the moment. Every interaction carries a mood, tension, excitement, sadness, anticipation, irritation, or joy. People adjust their behavior according to this emotional climate. In a tense environment, even small gestures become exaggerated. In a joyful environment, even normally reserved people may display open body language. When you walk into a room, observe the emotional temperature before interpreting individual signals. A trembling hand in a calm environment may mean something very different from a trembling hand in a chaotic or stressful environment. Emotional atmosphere creates the backdrop against which all gestures and expressions must be evaluated. Another important aspect of context is timing, the sequence of behaviors over time. Body language is dynamic. It changes as emotions rise and fall. A single gesture taken out of sequence can be misleading. For example, someone may cross their arms not because they are defensive, but because the conversation has shifted to a topic that makes them reflective. Someone may laugh nervously before answering a difficult question, not because they are lying, but because they feel vulnerable. Understanding when a gesture occurs, before a question, during silence, or following emotional shifts, provides crucial insight. Timing reveals emotional transitions that cannot be understood through isolated gestures. Relational context, the nature of the relationship between people, also influences body language. People behave differently with a close friend than with a coworker, and differently with a romantic partner than with a stranger. A gesture that appears intimate between lovers may appear uncomfortable between acquaintances. A posture that signals respect toward a boss may signal fear when directed at someone intimidating. Understanding relational roles helps you interpret whether a gesture reflects closeness, formality, caution, authority, or affection. Without understanding relationships, body language interpretation becomes guesswork. Context also involves role expectations. A teacher, leader, parent, or professional may adopt certain body behaviors because their role demands it. For example, a manager may stand tall and maintain controlled posture not because they feel confident, but because the environment expects authority. A student may appear submissive not because they lack confidence, but because the classroom dynamic encourages deference. When people perform roles, their body language reflects the rules of those roles. Understanding these rules prevents misinterpretation. Physical conditions can dramatically influence body language, and they must be considered before drawing conclusions. Someone may stand stiffly because of back pain, not tension. Someone may speak softly due to throat dryness, not insecurity. Someone may avoid eye contact because of sensitivity to light, not dishonesty. Someone may fidget because of a medical condition, not emotional discomfort. Skilled readers must distinguish between physical causes and emotional causes, avoiding assumptions that reduce complex situations to simple explanations. Emotional context also includes the person's goals in the interaction. People shift their body language depending on what they want: approval, avoidance, attraction, dominance, connection, or escape. For example, someone trying to impress others may adopt expansive posture, engage in expressive gestures, and use a lively tone. Someone trying to remain invisible may shrink physically or minimize movement. Understanding what someone hopes to achieve in the moment provides insight into why they behave the way they do. Body language reflects intention as much as emotion. Historical context is another dimension: previous interactions between the same people. If two people have unresolved tension, their body language will reflect it even in neutral conversations. A gesture that appears defensive may reflect past conflict, not present discomfort. When reading body language in ongoing relationships, look for how history shapes behavior. Emotional memories often influence posture, facial expressions, and tone more than current circumstances do. Context also includes the flow of conversation. People react physically to the meaning of words. When the conversation turns to a sensitive topic, the body may tighten. When it shifts to something joyful, the body may relax. A skilled reader observes how body language aligns or misaligns with the emotional content of the conversation. If someone becomes tense when discussing a specific subject, it may reveal emotional significance. If someone becomes more open or animated, it may indicate comfort or enthusiasm. The body responds to meaning, and understanding that meaning requires listening as carefully as observing. Inaccurate interpretation happens most often when context is ignored. For example, assuming that crossed arms always indicate defensiveness or that a lack of eye contact always signals lying leads to misunderstandings. These gestures carry different meanings across contexts. Crossed arms during a cold day or a long conversation simply indicate comfort or fatigue. Avoiding eye contact during a difficult conversation may reflect shame or sadness, not deception. Nervous gestures may reflect personality traits rather than immediate emotional states. Context transforms body language from simple signals into meaningful communication. The most important principle in context-based interpretation is never rely on a single cue. Instead, observe patterns over time, consider the environment, and compare behavior to baseline. A single gesture taken out of context is almost meaningless, but when multiple gestures align with environmental, emotional, and conversational context, the interpretation becomes accurate and insightful. Context protects you from misreading others and helps you approach interactions with empathy rather than judgment. It reminds you that people are complex beings, shaped by emotion, history, culture, and circumstance. A gesture is never just a gesture. It is an expression shaped by layers of psychological and environmental factors. When you consider context fully, you read not only the body, but the story behind the body. You see the human being, not just their movements. In the chapters ahead, you will learn how to synthesize all the elements you have studied: faces, posture, hands, voice, deception cues, and context into a single coherent system of understanding people instantly and accurately. but context is the foundation that ensures your interpretations are fair, compassionate, and accurate. Without context, body language is guesswork. With context, body language becomes a precise and powerful tool for understanding human emotion. Chapter 9. Putting it all together. The art of reading people as a complete system. By this point in your journey, you have explored the face, posture, hands, voice, deception cues, and the essential role of context in shaping meaning. Each of these elements provides invaluable insight on its own. But true mastery comes not from analyzing signals separately, but from understanding how they work together as a unified system of human expression. Body language is a symphony, not a collection of isolated sounds. Each gesture, tone shift, posture adjustment, or facial movement plays its own role, yet meaning emerges only when these elements are interpreted in harmony. Reading people accurately requires integrating signals, understanding how they influence each other, and capturing the emotional story that unfolds moment by moment. This chapter teaches you how to combine everything you've learned into a powerful framework for seeing people clearly and compassionately. When observing someone, the first step is establishing their baseline, their natural behavior when calm and comfortable. Without baseline, every interpretation risks becoming inaccurate. Some people speak quickly by nature, while others speak slowly regardless of emotion. Some naturally use expressive gestures, while others remain reserved even when happy. Some seem serious most of the time, while others smile frequently. These traits reflect personality, cultural influence, and long-term habits rather than momentary emotion. Baseline helps you distinguish what is normal for the person from what is emotionally significant. A true emotional signal is not simply a gesture, it is a change from baseline. When someone's behavior shifts noticeably, when their movements become tense, when their voice changes pitch, when their face displays sudden emotion, these transitions reveal what is happening internally. Once you understand baseline, the next step is identifying clusters of cues rather than individual signals. A single gesture, crossed arms, a topped foot, a raised eyebrow, carries little meaning in isolation, but when several cues align, the emotional message becomes clear. For example, if someone crosses their arms while leaning back, narrowing their eyes, and pressing their lips together, the cluster suggests defensiveness, discomfort, or disagreement. If someone's face brightens, body leans forward, hands become animated, and voice warms, the cluster suggests enthusiasm or connection. Signals gain power when they appear together or when they contradict each other. A person who smiles but whose shoulders tighten may be hiding tension beneath politeness. A person who speaks confidently while their hands fidget may be masking insecurity. Clusters create patterns, and patterns reveal emotional truth. The next step in reading people as a complete system is evaluating synchrony, the alignment between what someone says, how they say it, and how their body behaves. When words, tone, posture, and expression align naturally, the person is likely expressing genuine emotion. When these channels misalign, internal conflict is present. For example, if someone says, "I'm excited about this opportunity," but they speak with a flat tone, avoid eye contact, and sit with closed posture, their emotional truth contradicts their verbal message. This contradiction does not automatically mean they're lying. It may reflect ambivalence, fear, or pressure to appear enthusiastic. Synchrony reveals authenticity, while asynchrony reveals emotional complexity. Understanding this distinction allows you to navigate social interactions with greater clarity and empathy. Another critical part of integrating body language cues is observing timing. Emotional reactions often precede verbal reactions. A person may show a micro-expression of sadness before saying, "I'm fine." Their shoulders may rise in tension before they verbally express concern. Their hands may shift away before they decline a request. Because the emotional brain reacts faster than the cognitive brain, body language often reveals the truth before words do. When signals appear before, during, and after speech, they create a timeline of emotional expression. Reading this timeline helps you understand not just what someone feels, but when they feel it and why the emotion appears at that specific moment. Synchrony reveals authenticity. while asynchrony reveals emotional complexity. Another essential element is context, which you explored deeply in the previous chapter. Body language must be interpreted through the lens of environment, social expectations, cultural norms, personal history, and conversational content. Without context, interpretation becomes guesswork. For instance, noticing fidgeting during a stressful meeting may reflect nervousness, but noticing it during a relaxed conversation may reflect emotional discomfort with the topic. Context also helps you determine whether a gesture reflects personality or emotion. By combining context with baseline and clusters of cues, you interpret body language accurately rather than superficially. Reading people as a complete system also requires recognizing emotional themes, the broader patterns of behavior that reveal deeper psychological truths. For example, someone who repeatedly displays closed posture, downward gaze, and quiet voice across different situations may struggle with insecurity or introversion. Someone who consistently adopts expansive posture, steady eye contact, and dominant tone may naturally feel comfortable in leadership roles. These themes are not judgments, but insights that help you understand the emotional foundation beneath momentary expressions. Short-term cues reveal the emotion of the moment. Long-term patterns reveal the emotional architecture of the individual. Another important concept is energy direction. Body language can express outward or inward energy. Outward energy, marked by open gestures, forward-leaning posture, active facial expression, and animated voice, reflects engagement, confidence, or enthusiasm. Inward energy, marked by closed posture, downward gaze, and reduced movement, reflects introspection, insecurity, or emotional withdrawal. Understanding energy direction helps you sense whether someone wants to connect or retreat, whether they feel alive or overwhelmed, whether they are asserting themselves or protecting themselves. This insight enables you to respond appropriately, adjusting your own communication to meet their emotional needs. As you integrate these elements, you begin to see emotional coherence, the degree to which someone's body language creates a unified emotional message. Coherent signals, such as relaxed posture, warm tone, open hands, and genuine smiles, indicate emotional stability and comfort. Incoherent signals, such as forced smiles, tense shoulders, conflicting gestures, or sudden vocal shifts, indicate emotional conflict or inner tension. Coherence does not necessarily mean positivity. Someone can express genuine anger coherently. The key is whether their emotional channels agree with each other. When they do, the message is honest. When they do not, emotional complexity or concealment is present. Another powerful tool is learning to observe threshold moments, the points in conversation where emotional intensity suddenly changes. These turning points often occur when a sensitive topic is introduced, a question triggers discomfort, or a memory awakens emotion. At these moments, the body may shift significantly. Posture tightens, facial expression changes rapidly, hands move inward, or the voice cracks. These threshold moments provide a deeper understanding of what matters most to the person. They serve as emotional landmarks that reveal the inner map of their concerns, fears, desires, and values. As you become more skilled at synthesizing cues, you also learn to distinguish between state behavior and trait behavior. State behavior reflects temporary emotional states, stress, joy, fear, excitement, while trait behavior reflects long-term personality traits. Someone may appear nervous due to a difficult situation, state, but they may also have an introverted personality, trait. Someone may appear confident in one moment due to familiarity with the environment, state, but they may also naturally possess a dominant personality profile, trait. Recognizing this distinction helps you avoid confusing momentary reactions with stable characteristics. A crucial part of reading people holistically is recognizing emotional intention. Body language is not just an expression of emotion, it is also a tool people use to shape interactions. Someone may lean forward to show interest, not only because they feel it, but to encourage connection. Someone may withdraw physically to create distance, not only because they feel discomfort, but to signal a boundary. Someone may use their voice to calm others, not only because they themselves feel calm, but because they wish to create a supportive atmosphere. Emotional intention is the intersection of internal feelings and social goals. Understanding it allows you to see not only what someone feels, but what they hope to achieve through their nonverbal behavior. The final stage of reading people as a complete system is developing emotional intuition, a silent understanding that arises from practice, empathy, and awareness. Emotional intuition is not magic or mind reading. It is the ability to sense emotional truth quickly and accurately because you have trained yourself to observe patterns that most people overlook. With practice, you will begin to notice tension before it becomes visible, hear emotional shifts in the voice before others do, and sense the meaning of subtle posture changes without consciously analyzing them. Emotional intuition emerges when your mind integrates all the pieces automatically, allowing you to understand others effortlessly. However, emotional intuition must always be paired with humility. No interpretation is perfect. People are complex, and their emotional lives cannot be reduced to simple formulas. As a reader of body language, your goal is not to judge, but to understand, not to expose, but to empathize, not to control, but to connect. The art of reading people is not a weapon, it is a bridge. It allows you to see the invisible, hear the unspoken, and feel the emotional currents beneath the surface of conversation. It teaches you to respond with patience, compassion, and respect for the vulnerability that body language reveals. By integrating all the elements you have learned, faces, hands, posture, voice, deception cues, context, and emotional intention, you develop a deep and nuanced ability to read people instantly and accurately. You begin to understand not only what people show, but what they hide, not only what they say, but what they mean, not only how they behave, but why they behave that way. This holistic understanding transforms your relationships, strengthens your communication, and deepens your emotional intelligence. In the next chapter, we will turn from understanding others to understanding yourself, how your own body language influences the world around you, how your signals affect others, and how you can use body awareness to communicate confidently, authentically, and effectively. But before that, reflect on what you have learned here. Body language is not a collection of isolated signs. It is a living system, a complex, rich, and meaningful reflection of human emotion. When you learn to read it fully, you gain a rare and powerful insight into the human heart.
Chapter 10: Mastering Your Own Body Language. How to Communicate Confidence, Calm, and Authenticity. So far, this book has focused on reading others, decoding their signals, understanding their emotional truth, and interpreting the subtle language of the face, posture, hands, and voice. But true mastery of body language goes beyond observation. It extends to your own presence, your own movements, and the way your body communicates long before you speak. The ability to read others gives you insight. The ability to shape your own body language gives you influence. Not manipulation, not control, influence rooted in authenticity. When you understand how your own body expresses emotion, you gain the power to communicate confidence, calmness, kindness, and clarity, all without forcing or faking anything. This chapter explores how to master your own nonverbal expression so that your communication aligns with your intentions and strengthens your presence in every interaction. Your body is constantly broadcasting messages about how you feel. Even when you are silent, your posture, breathing, gestures, and facial expressions speak for you. Many people move through the world unaware of the signals they send. Their bodies reflect stress, insecurity, or distraction even when they wish to appear composed. Others overcompensate, adopting stiff or exaggerated behaviors that come across as guarded or unnatural.
The key to mastering your own body language lies in awareness, not performance, learning to recognize the signals you send and shaping them intentionally in a way that aligns with your genuine emotional state. The foundation of strong, confident body language is posture, because posture shapes how others see you and how you feel inside. Standing or sitting upright with relaxed shoulders, open chest, and balanced alignment communicates calmness and self-assurance. It also triggers positive changes internally. Research shows that adopting open, balanced posture reduces stress hormones and increases feelings of confidence. This two-way relationship means that by improving posture, you strengthen your emotional state, and by strengthening your emotional state, your posture naturally improves. To master posture, focus not on rigid straightness, but on openness, balance, and ease. A confident posture is not stiff, it is relaxed and grounded. Breathing plays a crucial role in your nonverbal communication because breath shapes the voice, affects facial expression, and influences body tension. Shallow, rapid breathing signals stress and insecurity, while slow, deep breathing signals confidence and calm. When you breathe deeply, your voice becomes steady, your muscles relax, and your mind becomes clearer. One of the most effective techniques for improving your body language in real time is simply to take one slow breath before responding during conversation. This pause signals control to your body, your emotional brain, and the person in front of you. Mastering your breath is one of the simplest and most powerful ways to master your presence. The face is where many people struggle to maintain authenticity because they often try to appear confident, composed, or pleasant. But forced expressions are easy to detect, both by others and by your own emotional intuition. The goal is not to hold a confident face, but to understand how your facial muscles respond to emotion. Relaxing the forehead, softening the jaw, and releasing tension around the eyes all contribute to a more open and genuine expression. A real smile involves the muscles around the eyes, so instead of forcing a smile with your mouth, allow positive emotion to arise internally through calm breathing or empathy for the other person. Authentic facial expressions always appear more natural and convincing than forced ones, and they strengthen connection more effectively than any technique. Your hands reveal nervousness more than any other part of your body, which is why mastering your hand behavior is essential for projecting confidence. Nervous people often fidget, tap, hide their hands, or engage in pacifying gestures. These actions not only reveal anxiety, but also intensify it. When you place your hands visibly and calmly, resting them on the table, keeping them relaxed at your sides, or using simple, controlled gestures, you send a message of confidence to others and to yourself. Intentional hand placement reduces nervous energy and communicates clarity and openness. The goal is not to freeze your hands, but to let them move naturally in alignment with your words, avoiding chaotic or self-soothing gestures. Your voice is one of the most powerful indicators of your internal state. A calm, controlled, steady voice communicates confidence far more effectively than loudness or speed. Many people raise their volume or speak quickly when nervous, believing it will make them appear confident. In reality, it signals anxiety. Confidence is communicated through tone, pace, and rhythm, not through force. Speaking a little slower, not unnaturally slow, but with measured pacing, gives your listener time to absorb your words and gives you time to think clearly. Pausing briefly between sentences signals calmness, not uncertainty. Allowing your voice to flow naturally without rushing or forcing creates a presence that is both grounded and influential. Another key to mastering your own body language is developing situational awareness, understanding how your body affects the environment and how the environment affects your body. For example, during a difficult conversation, leaning forward slightly can communicate empathy and engagement, while leaning back communicates distance or detachment. During a negotiation, maintaining balanced posture and steady eye contact signals confidence and credibility. During a presentation, standing tall with open gestures establishes authority and trust. When you become aware of how different situations call for different nonverbal expressions, you gain the ability to adapt your body language without losing authenticity. Eye contact is a powerful tool for communicating confidence and connection, but many people misunderstand it. Too little eye contact can appear insecure or distracted, while too much can feel aggressive or unnatural. Mastery lies in rhythmic eye contact, looking into the person's eyes long enough to show presence, then briefly looking away before returning your gaze. This natural rhythm mirrors how people interact when they feel comfortable. It conveys attentiveness without intensity, confidence without dominance. When your eye contact flows naturally with the pace of conversation, your presence becomes balanced and engaging. Another essential part of mastering your body language is understanding how to manage nervous energy. Everyone feels nervous at times. What matters is how you channel that energy. Instead of fidgeting or withdrawing, you can convert nervous energy into stable, grounded movement. For example, shifting your weight subtly from foot to foot can release excess tension without appearing restless. Using slow, deliberate gestures can transform nervous energy into expressive clarity. Allowing your breath to deepen can calm the nervous system instantly. Mastery does not mean eliminating nerves, it means using them constructively. Your body language also shapes how others treat you. When you carry yourself with confidence, people respond with respect. When you appear open and calm, people feel safe around you. When you appear closed or defensive, people may react with caution or distance. This creates a feedback loop. Others' responses reinforce your emotional state, which then reinforces your body language. By mastering your nonverbal signals, you influence this loop in a positive direction, creating interactions that feel more meaningful, balanced, and constructive.
Authenticity is the cornerstone of powerful body language. People can sense when someone is pretending, forcing confidence, or hiding insecurity. Authenticity does not mean expressing every emotion loudly or openly. It means aligning your outward behavior with your genuine internal state and intentions. When you are calm inside, your body language naturally becomes confident. When you are anxious inside but grounded in your intention to communicate clearly, your body language expresses honesty rather than performance. Authenticity is felt, not performed. The more you understand yourself, the more natural your body language becomes, and the more influential your presence grows. Mastering your own body language also requires understanding your emotional triggers. Some interactions may cause you to withdraw, others to overcompensate. Recognizing these patterns allows you to adjust consciously rather than reacting automatically. For instance, if you tend to hunch your shoulders during conflict, you can practice keeping your posture open. If your voice tightens when you feel judged, you can focus on slower breathing. If your hands fidget when you feel uncertain, you can intentionally ground them. Emotional mastery is not achieved overnight. It develops through continuous awareness and small adjustments that accumulate over time. A powerful skill in mastering body language is mirroring, which involves subtly reflecting the posture, gestures, or tone of the person you interact with. When used authentically, mirroring builds trust, rapport, and connection. It signals empathy and alignment. However, mirroring must be subtle and natural. Forced or exaggerated imitation breaks trust. The goal is not to copy, but to attune, to move in harmony with the emotional rhythm of the interaction. When done well, mirroring creates a sense of safety and understanding, helping both you and the other person feel grounded and connected. The most advanced level of body language mastery involves embodied presence, the integration of awareness, emotional clarity, posture, breath, and intentional movement. Embodied presence is the ability to remain grounded, calm, and attuned even in challenging situations. It is the ability to maintain open posture under pressure, steady breath during conflict, authentic expression during vulnerability, and empathetic connection during intense emotion.
Embodied presence transforms your communication from reactive to responsive. It gives you the ability to influence others not through force, but through stability, authenticity, and clarity.
As you master your own body language, you also gain insight into how others perceive you. This self-awareness allows you to adapt intentionally, becoming more open when you want to connect, more still when you want to command respect, more expressive when you want to inspire, and more grounded when you want to soothe. This is not manipulation, it is emotional intelligence in action. It is the art of shaping your presence to match your purpose while remaining true to who you are. The journey of mastering body language is not about perfection. It is about awareness, alignment, and authenticity. It is about learning to express your inner truth with clarity and calm. It is about communicating confidence not through force, but through presence. And above all, it is about connecting with others in ways that feel genuine, respectful, and emotionally intelligent. In the next and final chapter, we will explore how to apply everything you've learned in real-world situations, social interactions, professional settings, relationships, conflict, leadership, and everyday communication. You will learn how to read others instantly and reliably, how to communicate your own intentions clearly, and how to navigate the emotional landscape of human interaction with skill and compassion. But first, remember, mastering your own body language is not the end of the journey. It is the beginning of becoming the kind of person whose presence brings clarity, confidence, and calm to the world around you. Conclusion: seeing people clearly and communicating with purpose. As you reach the end of this book, you have traveled through the many layers of human expression. Faces that reveal emotion in flashes too quick to hide. Hands that speak the truth even when words do not. Posture that reflects confidence or fear. Voices that tremble or strengthen with feeling. And subtle shifts that expose what the mind tries to conceal. You have learned the role of context, the importance of baseline, the power of emotional leakage, and the art of integrating signals into a single coherent picture. You have also discovered how to master your own nonverbal presence, shaping the way you communicate with authenticity, clarity, and confidence. And now, with all these insights combined, you stand at the threshold of a new way of seeing people and yourself. Reading people is not about judgment. It is not about exposing flaws or couching lies. It is about understanding. It is about listening not only with your ears, but with your eyes, your intuition, and your empathy. When you understand body language, you begin to see that every movement, every expression, every hesitation carries a story. Some stories speak of fear, others speak of hope. Some reveal insecurity, others reflect determination. When you look beyond the surface, you recognize the emotional reality beneath human behavior, a reality shaped by culture, history, personality, and lived experience. This vision allows you to respond with patience, compassion, and wisdom. By learning to read people, you develop emotional intelligence, the ability to understand yourself and others on a deeper level. Emotional intelligence is not simply a skill, it is a way of being. It changes how you listen, how you speak, how you interpret the world around you. It teaches you to pause before reacting, to consider the emotional context of every interaction, and to notice the subtle cues that reveal hidden needs. It helps you identify when someone is overwhelmed, when they are excited, when they need space, or when they are seeking connection. This awareness leads to stronger relationships, more honest communication, and a more peaceful and confident presence in your daily life. As you move forward, remember that body language is a living, dynamic system. It changes with emotion, environment, and situation. Even the most skilled readers make mistakes. Even the most expressive individuals have moments when their signals contradict their feelings.
This is because human beings are complex, layered, and evolving. The goal is not perfection. The goal is clarity, greater clarity than you had before. Every signal you observe adds to your understanding, and every moment of empathy deepens your connection to others. Perhaps the most important lesson in this entire journey is this: body language reveals truth, but it also reveals humanity. When someone closes their posture, they are protecting themselves. When someone avoids eye contact, they may feel overwhelmed. When someone gestures wildly, they may be excited or anxious. When someone fidgets, they may be experiencing inner conflict. These signals do not make people weak, they make people human. And when you recognize humanity in others, you become more patient, more supportive, and more understanding. Mastering your own body language is equally transformative. As you apply what you have learned, you will discover that you can shape not only how others see you, but also how you see yourself. By holding your posture with confidence, you strengthen your inner stability. By breathing deeply, you calm your nervous system. By expressing yourself with clarity, you build trust and respect. By aligning your nonverbal signals with your true intentions, you communicate not only with your words, but with your presence. Mastery begins with awareness, but it deepens into a way of living, intentional, grounded, and authentic. The knowledge you now possess is powerful, but power brings responsibility. Use it not to manipulate or control, but to understand and uplift. Use it to make communication more honest, relationships more fulfilling, and interactions more meaningful. Use it to see the world with clearer eyes and a more compassionate heart. When you read people well, you do not invade their privacy, you honor their experience. You acknowledge what they may not have words to express. You meet them where they are. In the end, body language is not just a tool for reading others or presenting yourself. It is a bridge between people, a bridge between emotion and expression, a bridge between the inner world and the outer one. When you walk across that bridge with awareness, empathy, and intention, you elevate every conversation, every relationship, and every moment of connection. You now have the knowledge to interpret human behavior with precision and kindness. You have the tools to communicate with confidence and authenticity. You have the awareness to understand the unspoken and to express yourself clearly. The rest of the journey lies in practice, in observing, listening, adjusting, and growing. Over time, these skills will become second nature, and you will find yourself reading people instantly and accurately, not through effort, but through insight. And as you continue forward, remember this truth. When you see people clearly, you communicate more honestly, connect more deeply, and live more fully. That is the true power of body language. That is the gift you carry with you now.
Body language secrets: how to understand people instantly. Introduction. Human communication is a rich, multi-layered experience. We often think that communication happens mainly through spoken language, words, sentences, and conversations. But the truth is far more surprising. Most of our real communication happens without words. Our faces, hands, posture, and even the way we breathe send information to others. These signals are constant, automatic, and usually unconscious. They reveal emotions, intentions, attitudes, and sometimes even truths that a person tries to hide. This silent language is called body language, and learning to understand it can transform your life. From the moment we wake up in the morning to the moment we close our eyes at night, we send and receive a continuous flow of nonverbal messages. A person may tell you they are fine, but their stiff shoulders or lowered eyes may say something completely different. Someone may say, "I agree," but the tension in their jaw may reveal doubt. Another person may smile politely while their feet point toward the exit, showing a desire to leave the conversation. These small signs are everywhere around us, but many people never learn to notice them. As a result, they miss valuable information and misunderstand others without realizing it. This book aims to change that.
Body language is not a mysterious gift or an ability that only psychologists possess. It is a learnable skill, a practical tool that anyone can develop with awareness, patience, and practice. When you understand body language, you gain the ability to interpret human behavior more accurately, navigate social situations with confidence, and connect with others on a deeper level. You begin to read people instantly, not because you are judging them, but because you are paying attention to the signals that have been there all along.